This is Wrestling for the Faith.
Wrestling for the Faith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wrestling for the Faith. I am Casey Cage.
And I am Chad Gunner Lail.
Chad Gunner Lail. How are you doing, my brother?
I am well, man. I am well. Got a chance to go to Cleveland, Tennessee this past week, right in your neck of the woods, man, and speak to some kids and just kind of share my story. And it was good. It was my first one back. So I was excited about it, man, getting back out on the road. So
very good. How about that first ministry opportunity that the Lord releases you back into is in Tennessee? Wonder what that could mean.
I don't know. I know. Come on, right?
How
you never
about
know.
that?
I don't know.
Oh man,
wrangle up everybody, lug them around. So
yeah. Well, we've had a good week. Last weekend, man, we took off to Mississippi and spent the weekend with some of our Kingdom family down there, and we had KFG down there with them on Sunday, and then Brandon and Dana headed up the Kingdom family gathering at the Boys and Girls Club on Sunday up here. So, man, it was just a awesome time, powerful move, and good time spending time with all of our friends and family.
Heck yeah, man. That's what it's about, brother. Got to have that fellowship, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, I want to say before I forget to mention it, I will be at Renegade Championship Wrestling tomorrow night. That's February 4th in Chatsworth, Georgia. Look it up on Facebook and social media. You can get the address and everything there. Bell time is 8 p.m. The main event is yours truly, Casey Cage, taking on the RCW champion, Brent Banner. And I'm telling you what, I just can't wait to get down there and just beat the daylight.
beat the boots off of him, brother. Chatsworth ain't far either. So you go down there, win a title, drive 10 minutes to your house, and you're set.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
That's golden. Love it, man. Love it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to be jumping into something this week that we've had some questions about. So I asked you about digging in to this. The main topic is going to be your entry into WWE. Yeah. But I want to start back just a little bit in 2014, 2015, toward the end of your TNA run.
Yeah.
And if people remember, you were doing the thing with Sam Shaw, and then that seemed to be something interesting and something that people were sinking their teeth into. What happens after that? What goes on there?
No, that was fun, man. Sam and I have known each other for quite some time, so we got our foot in the door together at TNA, and then became really good friends, and still good friends to this day. So love seeing what he's doing in WWE. But so we got, we had this it was Vince Russo's way of trying to develop a character for Gunner to where I was not just the mad mean guy all the time, which I loved because I loved to act and all that. And then Sam had this creepy gimmick. So we kind of, fed off each other. There were some fun promos we did, led into some matches. After that, him and I both went different ways. I think he started feuding with Ken Anderson, I want to say. And then for me, that was where they kind of rolled me into starting to work main event matches, like working with AJ and Sting and all these guys. And then which led into, fast forward a little bit, what is it, January 2014 in Manchester, our England tour, where I main evented against Nick Aldis, or Magnus at the time, who was the champion. Mm-hmm. And dude, that was incredible. I remember doing media for that probably 6 months prior. So they were building this Gunner character, and then they led it up and built this feud between Magnus and I, which, man, I mean, I remember just getting crazy praise for that match. I mean, getting on the bus that night, and John Gaburik, which was like the talent relations head guy there, come up, shook my hand, and told me, he goes, that match is going to catapult your career. Whatever. We look back now and we see that match did not catapult my career, but it was a lot of fun, man. I remember the hype and being nervous because I'm like, man, I'm in Manchester. First of all, you got Magnus, who was from that area, from England, I think Manchester. And so in our minds, him and I are talking before the match. We're like, dude, this is going to go one or two ways. This is going to be a disaster because they're going to go out there and they're going to love you and just crap all over Gunner, which is not what we wanted. But it was the exact opposite. I remember walking out the curtain, live TV, and going down the ramp, and these people were just like roaring. And it was the first time I was like, because they had built me. They did these video packages. They had built the Gunner character, the guy who clawed tooth and nail to get to the top, who, worked for hot dogs and hamburgers, running the indies. And they built this character that everybody could wrap around and care about. I did war promos. I did all this other stuff. So when the match came, the hype was there. The pop was there. The people were there for me. They hated Magnus. They were booing him. And then at the end of the match, we did the deal where I went for the flying headbutt to win the title. James Storm super kicks me midair, and which starts our feud. Mm-hmm. So, long story short, James and I did a huge, big feud there, basically leading back up to probably the end of 2014. So, we could talk a lot about that. That's something I think we need to dissect one day because there's a lot of meat there. Yeah. But the funny thing is, dude, we fast forward to January 2015 and the whole UK tour. Here I am the year prior, main event. Here's how leadership in TNA went. I'm not bashing, but it's just how it was. 2015, I'm literally the whole tour sitting in the locker room working battle royals and job matches. Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking, what is going on? I was in a lot of pain at that time. I had a flared up neck injury that basically like almost paralyzed my right arm for the longest time. There was months of like atrophy. All kinds of stuff, man. But I remember that and I was like, what's going on? Like even Sam Shaw, we're just in the locker room, mind blown. Mm-hmm. And then, a year ago I was main eventing, and in 2015, they're just crushing this Gunner character, which led into June of 2015 when I got released.
Yeah. And that's what I want to get into there. You mentioned TNA management and stuff like that at that time. Who was doing creative at that time? Was it still Russo? Yeah. Was Dutch still on there? Was Jeff still in there?
No. Those guys had left already. Jeff was lingering around, but kind of didn't have his say, mainly just on his character. But I think by that time he was gone because it was towards the end of, the hot Spike TV run of TNA. We went to that Destination Channel, I think is what it was called. So it was John, Big John Gaburik, I think it's how you say his name, which he is back in WWE now. So he was working in WWE prior. Mm-hmm. He came in as talent relations. You had Eric Bischoff trickling a little bit. I think at that time he was on the outs. And then, of course, Dixie would have her hand in certain things if it pertained to her storyline. But that was really the creative team. You had Dave Lagana, who had been around quite some time, always really cool with me. And then I'm trying to think of some other, like Pat Kenny helped out with creative, Al Snow helped out with creative, but the main creative team was John, and was kind of the main office guys. So there was not a huge crew like you would think of in WWE, but it just, John come in and I don't know if I did something to make him mad. I don't know, man. Like, how politics are in the game. Like right. They're hot for you for a minute, but then 2 months later you're trickling down the pipeline.
Right. Well, and we've got a lot of TNA discussion that we'll get into in the future. Yeah. You said, it was mainly Vince Russo's idea to really hone in on this Gunner character.
And, he loved me.
Yeah. And I've heard, me and you've talked about it personally. I've heard him talk about some stuff and how he saw a lot in you. And so he is pretty much pushing and driving the wagon for you here.
Yeah.
And then when he fades
He's
out,
gone.
so does,
Yeah.
So
he's like, Vince, bro, Gunner, we're gonna make you this killer, bro. You're gonna be a champion, bro. But listen, you gotta just do anything we talk to you, bro. Come on. That's how he would always talk. But he loved me, man. I was on his podcast, I think, after I got released from TNA, and he praised me. I'm like, dude, that's nuts. I mean, if I could have been in WCW with you, I'd have been a millionaire, maybe.
Yeah.
or jobbing to Dave Arquette. I don't know.
Well, you never know. But I mean,
I don't care. Huh?
That's, people's got their opinions on Russo. We can look back at wrestling history and see where he's done some amazing writing, and then where it's kind of
trash.
But
that's the business. Yeah,
you're right. But the way the Gunner character was going, and the way that you were seemingly headed straight for the top, and I mean, your in-ring work, your look, you've always been all about it, and you've always been solid in every area. So, I mean, all of us, we're sitting back saying, yeah, he deserves it. This is awesome. But then 2015. So we roll around June 2015, and you're released. Now, was that your decision, or did you go to the office and say, hey, I'm done playing these games, or was
I think it was my calls. So I remember sitting at catering there in Universal Studios, and I'm sitting there with Ken Anderson and somebody else, maybe Sam. And I was supposed to do something on that show, and then they come up and said, hey, Gunner, you're not going to be used tonight. Man, I sat there and started to boil. And all of a sudden I just get up and I sling my chair across catering, and Ken's like, whoa, bro. And I go into John's office and I said, John, I need to talk to you. And it was just him and I said, I'm being underutilized. I know my value. This is what you pay me. And I think you're underutilizing me. I'm better than what you guys are using me as. It was just one of those moments where I'd had enough, man. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of looked at me and he said, if I can remember what exactly what he said, he goes, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, a year ago, I main event in Manchester. And then this year in January, I'm sitting in the locker room, John. I said, have I done something wrong? Because if I had, I'll fix it. And I'm just having a business conversation with this man. And he goes, okay, we'll talk about it. And about a week later, maybe, I get a call from him, and he said, oh, we just don't have anything for you. We're going to have to release you from your contract. And I said, okay, John, have a good day, man. Best wishes. And I just hung up the phone. And I was, so basically me standing up for myself, I think, ticked him off.
Yeah.
And, but man, it was just one of those things. I was at that, I had just I was going through some life crisis. I had built up frustration, and I just went in there and, I wasn't screaming at him, but I also wasn't, probably super nice about it either. I was just,
right. Well,
I had to say something.
Something I want people to understand too. It's not, when I say this, I'm going to say that it's not ego. Now, everybody in the business has to have a little bit of an ego, to get around, or you're going to be pushed around forever. But it wasn't ego. It was just that, you're looking for, what can I do better? What have I done wrong? Or what do you want me to do? So I want people to understand that it's just in those situations, they can get really frustrating and sadly, you've been on the end of that a couple of different times in a couple of different companies where, it seems like you're rising, and then you stand up for something you believe in, and but
yeah, but but on the other end too, the Forgotten Sons were rising, and then I said the Trump tweet, but then I come back with Elias, and they were really shoving me. Vince was into me, and then there was another moment where it's just the next week. Where's Jackson? Oh, he's in catering. And listen, some guys love to sit and get paid in catering for 5 or 10 years. Not me. And that's the thing is I wanted to perform in my job. But then I look at it, Casey, I look at moments like that in TNA where I was on the rise and then got chopped down and got let go. On the rise in WWE, got chopped down, got let go. And I'm like, well, maybe, the Lord's going to use that for good some way. You know what I'm saying? He's given this kid from Hickory, North Carolina, which is a small town here, 40 minutes from where I'm at right now, the opportunity to live my dream for 22 years. Maybe it was just, hey, I'm going to give you a little taste, but you know what? You're going to glorify me in the process. So I've taken it, and I've kept a good attitude about it. Of course, I wanted to be a champion and, keep working for the company. But at the same time, it's not my God. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So you are released in 2015, and I know you continue on the independents, but where do you go from there? Are you in contact with WWE or anybody else right at that moment, or are you?
Actually, yeah, dude, quick. I mean, so I got let go June 15th, 2015. I instantly pick up a phone and call who was then Dash Wilder, so Cash Wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, hey, I just got let go from WWE. Do you? Because I'd talked with Edge a few times, and I said, all right. I said, what? Because at that time, Cash was at the Performance Center, and he goes, you know what? Give me a second. And he called Regal. He's good buddies with Regal. Regal in return said, give him my email. I touched base with Regal. I said, here's what's going on, Regal. I would love to have a tryout. Not asking for a job. I'm asking for an opportunity. Yeah. Matter of fact, it was probably a couple of days later, he emailed me and said, I'm going to get you a tryout in July. Now, I'm on a no compete clause with TNA for 90 days. So I had to call the office and say, which I think I called Bob Ryder, God bless his soul, passed away since then. But and I said, Bob, listen, I got an opportunity to do a tryout with WWE. It's not TV. It's nothing like that. Can I do that? Because I'm under contract to still get paid with you guys. And he said, yeah, you're fine. You're not on TV. You're just doing a tryout. So went down in June. I think it was the 12th through the 17th, maybe, of 2015, and had the tryout down there. It was like a 4 or 5 day extensive, a smaller tryout opposed to what some of the big Performance Center tryouts of like 50, 60 competitors come in. It was like me and 4 other guys, very intimate, just kind of mainly for Regal to look at certain guys.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I went right into a tryout, man, no break, but kept doing indies.
Right. Okay. So during that time, now it's, if I'm correct, you didn't actually sign until 2017, right?
2017.
Okay. So tryout goes well. What happens at the end?
So tryout went well. Regal pulled me in the office and said, I had a tryout match with this kid who was, man, if he's listening one day, he's going to get mad. He was god awful. Okay. It was terrible. And in the match, we had like a 6-minute match there, and Adam Pearce was the referee. And they got like tryout matches. So this kid from Germany, I did a little tryout match with, and he wanted to do all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, all right, whatever, we'll just do this. Well, halfway through the match, brother goes brain dead and couldn't remember anything. So I take charge and control the match and get it over. He was originally supposed to go over, but nope. I shot on him and took a pinfall. Or got a pinfall. So Adam, I guess maybe had spoke to Regal and said, Chad led that match. This kid forgot, and Chad led that match like a veteran. Because Adam had known me from years ago. Right. So Regal pulled me into the office after all this stuff and told me, he goes, I noticed that you took control. You were a veteran in there. You didn't lose composure. This kid got lost. You controlled it, blah, 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 blah. He goes, well, the next thing we can try and do is get you a meeting with Hunter. And it wasn't that in July, though. It ended up being in November of 2015. I come back down there, and thank goodness I got a meeting with Hunter, because it was one of those things where you didn't know if he was going to get one. Yeah. But he sat down with me for like 5 minutes and said, what do you have to offer WWE? And I just told him, I was like, I can work with anybody. I think I can make money if given the opportunity. I think I could take a character and run with it. I said, I take care of my body. I know you're into the physique side of the business, like a man that looks like a man. I said, I can really fight. So you want somebody that looks like a fighter and a brawler? Here's your guy. And he just kind of was like, all right, cool. Just really how the conversation went. I'm like, I threw the suck it sign. No, I didn't do all that. I don't know. Sorry about that. We're on different podcasts, but that's where the conversation. And then, so man, for a year and a half, I just kept in touch with Regal. I didn't bug him. This is, the time where I got married. My daughter was born, and I was doing bodybuilding shows. I was doing indie shows. I was doing movies. But I just kept in touch with Regal. And every month, just one email, sir, just want to touch base with you. And I always got, don't have anything right now, but we're going to keep you in the loop. Don't have anything right now, but we're going to keep you in the loop. All right, fast forward to March of 2017. I'm at a buddy's house working on this old truck I had, and I get a call from Jeff Jarrett. He said, hey, we want to bring you back. Long story short, I'm trying to pull us in a bottle here. We want to bring you back. You and Crimson do a tag team together.
Okay, now this is when Jeff had went back to TNA.
Yes, he was back in creative.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And he said, we want to bring you guys back, to do some tag team stuff. We want to do some kind of a Dogs of War gimmick. And what do you think? And I said, well, yeah, it's fine. And then we talked about pay, and I'll go ahead and, say on here, I wasn't going to get a guaranteed contract like I'd had before, where I made X amount of dollars per month on top of per show. They were only going to pay me $600 per appearance. And I was like, man, I can't. I have a newborn child. I'm a married man at that time. And in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I can't do this, man. But I ended up going to do some vignettes with Crimson in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. But when I got that call that they wanted to bring us back, this was after we did the vignettes. I called Cash once again, Dash, and I said, dude, TNA just offered me a job. I don't know what to do. He goes, give me 5 minutes. Brother, in 5 to 10 minutes, William Regal calls me and said, we hear that TNA wants to pick you up. I just talked to Hunter. We're offering you this contract, X amount of dollars. You'll start at the end of May. We'll start getting your drug test and all that stuff's planned. So, dude, it was like boom, boom, boom. And I'm blown away. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
So, I told TNA I'm not going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that was, I was around, actually, I think in some of Mercer's or Crimson's first matches. And, when I seen him heading to TNA and you're there, I'm looking at this and I'm like, these are both military. In my book and mind, you guys were a team from the beginning. I don't know why that. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't happen from the beginning. I want to go back real quick to those TNA contracts or the Impact contracts, because I know a lot of people who have got stuck in those contracts, and a lot of the boys, they're just out there looking for their opportunity, and that's great. So they'll sign any piece of paper that's put in front of them. But I know so many who have got stuck in those contracts. They've got a year, 3 years, whatever it is, where they're getting paid $300, $500, $600, whatever it is per appearance. And they'll do a couple of appearances and then, we don't have anything for you for 6 months. So you're not getting paid. Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that in. When I heard you say that, I wanted to throw that in for anybody out there listening. Don't just sign anything just because it's a wrestling contract.
No, for real, man. Well, because when I was with TNA, when I first started security gig, my first contract was you get paid per show. And I got used a lot that first year. Well, then they re-upped me and I got like a monthly base salary. So like a monthly check, but on top, I got paid $600 extra per show per match. So, I mean, at that time, bro, we were working house shows. I was getting paid an extra $2-3 grand a week on top of what I made per month. So, I mean, that was the most I ever made in my life. I made my last year in TNA where I was making the most. I think I made right at $80,000. And I was like, holy moly, But the contracts now, there's no guarantee. These guys are just like, hey, don't get used. But also, dude, at the same time, we could go do indies. So if I was off for like 2 weeks, bro, I'm doing 2-3 indies a week. And TNA didn't care. They said, no, go do your indies. But now I heard they were trying to put a kibosh on that. And I'm like, you can't do that, man. These guys got to eat.
Yeah. I've heard of recently a couple of different people who have been stuck in those Impact contracts and they're not getting used. And when they're not getting used, they're not getting paid, but they can't go to WWE. They can't go anywhere else. And so it's like, what in the world is going on? So, just because they put a piece of paper in front of you and say, here, this is a contract with one of the major companies, you might want to
listen. Dude, there's a difference in 2010, 11, 12, those times where I signed those contracts. I wasn't married. I was single. I didn't care. Okay, you want to pay me $600 a show? Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna work because I know I can. Because at that time I had just come off the Shatter gimmick, NWA National Champion. I was rocking on the Indies, bro. I mean, if I wasn't booked with TNA, I was booked solid all weekend somewhere. Yeah. But then when Stacy and I married, and Abel was born, and I got the call from TNA of, we're just going to pay you this much per show. I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, Lord, and my relationship with the Lord at that time was just kind of go to him when I needed him. You know what I mean? But I was thinking, God, I can't support my family with this. Like I'm going to quit a full-time job. I can't do this. You know what I mean? I gave up an India tour in October of 2016, a chance to make good money because my daughter was 2 weeks old. I'm like, I can't leave my wife at home or ex-wife, whatever, with my baby. I can't do that. So, at that time it's different. You got to think about your family. But then when the WWE door opened up, I knew that I could support them. And luckily Stacy was such an amazing woman to go, okay, I'll uproot my life too and let you chase this dream and I'll support you. And that all worked out, man, until 2021 when they let me go.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you said something just a second ago, and that was one of the questions that I was going to get into. In between this limbo period from TNA to getting the call with the contract offer from WWE, you said it just a second ago, but let's go into a little bit more detail. How was your relationship with the Lord at that time? Because saved at 17, but
yeah.
The guy that I remember, and I was the same way. Post some Bible verses here and there, talk about praying here and there, but I'm a drunk in the locker room. I'm a drunk on the road, and I'm going to God whenever I need a magic genie to grant me my 3 wishes.
And look, that's the thing, man. I will say, honestly, one thing I will say, I never got drunk and wrestled. After the show, different story. But even during that time, bro, I'm trying to think how to word this. I've always read my Bible. There was a time where in Marine Corps probably, where I picked my Bible up like a lucky charm, you know what I mean? But even in that time, especially when my daughter was born, there's something the Holy Spirit sparked something in me of, you need to get right. Mm-hmm. And I was very convicted at those moments of my partying and all that stuff. But my relationship with the Lord isn't like, it is now. I mean, I was turning the volume of the Holy Spirit down and turning the volume of the world up because I wanted to be famous and I wanted, this was my idol at the time. But Stacy and I, the baby and I, we all went to church every Sunday. We got our consecrated, our dedicated. And then, so my relationship with the Lord really was, I think he was really speaking to me at the time. But I was still kind of pushed back a little bit. Like, man, no, I want to do it my way, God. I want to do it my way. But every night, bro, I can sit here and say every night I was on my knees praying. I remember on my knees praying about something and, praying over Stacy when she was pregnant and over Ava when she was asleep after she was born. So, but, compared to now, definitely I'm like, man, I was missing out on a lot of true peace that Jesus Christ could have given me in those moments. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was trying to fit in, man. And I never cheated on Stacy. I never ran around with her on that stuff. But there's moments where I was stupid drunk and she's having to take care of me. I'm not proud of that, but no, that's what it was.
and there's a difference. We've talked about our differences before. I thought I was saved at 14, but I never had that desire to become a new creation.
Right.
You on the other hand did. I learned religion and wanted to go to God whenever I needed him. Still, even through your struggles, had your constant relationship with him. And even though you might have been turning the voice of the Spirit down and the voice of the world up at times, you still had that conviction. You were still being drawn by the Spirit. And so that's something that I want people to really grab a hold of because, that's the big difference in, okay, is this person truly born again or did he just get religion? And you are the exact opposite when it comes to that because I got religion, you got Jesus.
And there was such spiritual battle going on at that time, man, a true spiritual warfare that you and I have talked about the past few weeks, man, on our personal time that I realized was going on. But at the time, it was like Satan kind of had me a little bit. He's got me in the party life. He's got me in the addiction to porn. Even, I will confess to that being married, and she knows this because I confessed it to her after I cleaned up that I had an addiction to pornography because it started when I was 11 years old. Yeah. But he had me in that grip, man. And there was a spiritual battle, but it wasn't as intense as it is right now. my spiritual attack and spiritual warfare right now is, brother, intense, man. And I can go into detail whenever, but it's very strong right now to the point of, I'm like, holy moly, man, Lord, am I this strong? But I am, because if I wasn't, this wouldn't be pressing me so hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in this world. So
that's it. Amen, dude. Amen.
All right. So in our last few minutes here, you get the contract in 2017. You uproot the family and y'all head to the wonderful, great state of Florida.
Sunny Florida. Bro, listen to this real quick. I am in the process of filming game night during this. So I filmed game night for a week. This is in April, and I have to be at WWE May 28th, 2017 to report to the Performance Center. So I film a little bit in April. I have a 3-day span where I'm off. I drive from Georgia to Florida to look at this random house. I put a deposit down on this house. I drive from Florida back to North Carolina. I spend 7 hours maybe with Stacy and Ava. And I feel so bad about this right now, but whatever. And I got a picture somewhere I need to show you of me holding Ava as I'm getting back into this truck to drive back to Georgia to film for another week. So in that time span, I'm everywhere. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find a house. I'm getting a U-Haul reserved. I have no money. I'm broke. And I'm filming a movie that released. And then I literally finished filming the day before we leave. No, 4:00 in the morning. We're leaving that day. I drive from 4:00 in the morning all the way back to North Carolina, where I lived with Stacy and the baby at the time. And it's I get there about noon. Her and her brother, my mom, and everybody had packed a huge U-Haul up. Now, I mean, this is the kind of woman that dealt with me for 7-8 years. You know what I mean? God bless her. But anyway, sorry, guys, but yeah. So we pack a U-Haul up and we drive to Orlando, Florida. I'm driving a U-Haul, hauling a minivan, and she's driving my 2001 Silverado truck with Ava Grace in the back seat. we get down to Florida a day before I got to check in. We're like just throwing stuff in this new house. It's little and everything's cramped, and that's where the story begins, man. And I check in with WWE the next day, and I'm set there. We're set in Orlando for a little over 3 years, and then get back home about 2020. Mm-hmm. So it was funny though, man. It was like I get there, the U-Haul slammed full. I had to throw a few boxes in the U-Haul, and I think we went and slept at my mom's house the night before we left, and got about 4 hours of sleep, and got on the road about 4 a.m. and drove all the way to Florida.
Well,
it was nuts.
I just want you to know, I wholeheartedly believe that, and I've told you this privately, but the Lord's got that situation.
He does.
I have no doubt that everything that the enemy is meant for evil, the Lord is going to turn it for good. But so y'all get to Florida, you go check in. Now, you can't have Gunner because they want to own it. So
yeah,
for the first little bit, you're just Chad Lail, right?
Which was so hard for me, bro.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, can we get a name? And I'm talking to the creators, the writers, and they're like, yeah, we're going to be working on that. And I'm like, I'm Chad Lail wrestling these Florida shows, just as Chad Lail, and it's so weird for me because like Chad Lail doesn't have a character. I mean, I do, but as a wrestler, I did.
Yeah.
And I'm just walking out, and I'm just like, I'm lost, man. And it's affecting me at the time because I had, went through some injuries and stuff going into WWE that I really hid, but it was affecting my ring work. It was affecting me mentally. And I was like, and then you get to WWE and it's like, they make you feel like you've forgotten or you don't know how to wrestle because there's a certain way you got to do everything. There's a certain way you do this. And I'm like, holy moly, you guys. So yeah, for 2017, I guess for almost a year, I was just Chad Lail.
Mm-hmm.
It was a while because I was just doing Florida shows. I wasn't doing any TV until, we started linking myself, Blake, and Cutler up as the Forgotten Sons, which I think we're going to tag on that same.
On that note, we're going to leave it right there because we've had a lot of questions on this. A lot of people want to know the dirt. A lot of people want to know how all of that came about, how the Forgotten Sons came about, how you guys' relationship, was and is. And and then, of course, that gets us to the tweet heard around the world. So we'll be discussing the Forgotten Sons on next week's episode. If you have questions about the Forgotten Sons or the NXT era of Chad, you can email us at wrestlingforthefaith@gmail.com, or you can message us on the Wrestling for the Faith Facebook page. Man, I think this has been a great episode. We've answered a lot of questions. We went into a lot more detail on stuff than I was really expecting to do. So you got anything?
Yeah, me too. No, man. No, I think that's it. Just no, man. I hope everybody's enjoying just a little bit of a change we're doing here, Wrestling for the Faith, man. Some wrestling, but keeping it Holy Spirit filled as we always do. That's where our heart lies. But we think it's cool and a good opportunity for, hey, if you got questions about my career, Casey's career, anything, something you want us to discuss, please send us an email, send us something.
Yeah. All right, guys. We thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to share the Wrestling for the Faith podcast. We love you. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for listening to Wrestling for the Faith. Don't forget to follow Casey Cage on Twitter at RealCaseyCage. Follow Chad Lail on Twitter at CWLail_Gunner. And follow the show at Facebook.com/Wrestling for the Faith.